Waiting for it. Uh-huh. Oh yeah. Uh-huh. Oh yeah. Uh-huh. Oh yeah. Uh-huh. Oh yeah. All right, so this is the Not So Creative podcast with me, the one letter E. Gotta keep it going because you know what? That tune is getting me moving. Yeah. All right, so anyway, I'm still learning this little device I purchased, so please be patient with my method of doing this. So today, well, first of all, happy holidays to everybody. These shows are going to be so far behind because I have a lot of work to do, but Miles will just get recording on some of this and put it out there. And it's, practice. And one day I'll go back and hopefully if this thing goes to the places where I want it to go, I could look back and say, you know what, those are my first podcasts. And those were the ones that, where I was basically just putting my feet in the water and just kind of getting used to it. So I appreciate anybody who's listening. Thank you again. And for anybody overseas, international, thanks for listening. And I hope that you guys enjoy it. So I'm gonna just talk about right now about my week that just passed. Uh, Aside from work, which is always the same shit, which is just work. I've been working my ass off for the last couple of months, but really in November, been really good and focused. So when they announced Travis Scott tickets that were gonna go to, where he was gonna go to Madison Square Garden, actually, I'm gonna go back and rewind a little bit. Initially, word was that he was going to play in MetLife. I think that was probably in October, November, around there. And for some reason, things changed. That concert was canceled because there was word about MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. And well, eventually he played two shows at Barclays, and he had a show in the Garden on December 21st. I didn't know what to expect. I've been to many concerts. I just haven't been to a Travis Scott concert. I had seats anyway, so they were like mid-level in Madison Square Garden. View was decent. The stage was actually, I loved the look of the stage. It was like rocks, and knowing how Travis Scott has a lot of energy, he had a lot of room to work with as far as going, running around, and he basically did cover, I would say, just about every space you can think of covering to entertain the fans from one side to the other, north, south, east, west. He covered. He also involved, he calls his fans the Ragers. Uh, there was a parasail where he would pick. I think that ended up being about six fans that went on the parasail, and they, hooked on like a safety device so that people don't fall off because the parasail actually goes up and then it moves around while the two participants dance. Whether male, female, females, whoever he picked uh, would go on, which I'll kind of go into in a moment. Either way, I'll go into the concert. Uh, Opening act was Tizo Touchdown, which he's been on a couple albums this year. Drake's album, I believe it's For All the Dogs. Also, Travis Scott's album, Utopia, where he performed in Monster Jam. And I believe he did something with Tyler the Creator as well. Don't know the song. He was mentioning the artist he worked with. I know it was obvious because I already had known about Tizo Touchdown. Uh, so yeah, he opened up, did a couple of songs. All right, so I'm going to go back, and I'm sorry I'm out of order. So you go into the garden. This is the experience so far. You go in. I did go see Drake a couple of months earlier at Barclays and at the garden. The lines for merchandise on Drake weren't crazy. They were long, but they weren't crazy. Now, of course, by the time this probably comes out, the concert for Travis Scott will be, and his tour will probably be over. Hopefully, I'll have this out. If anybody does get to listen to this, I will say, which probably has been explained probably enough times either by the arenas, by anybody who's gone to the concert. If you want to get merchandise, get there early, super early. I don't know what time they open the merchandising at, but get there. You will miss, well, probably the opening act, which if you care, you care. If you don't, and you want to get the whole experience, then get there early. I arrived. They announced the line was long. First of all, I saw the line. I said, "Oh, this is the line." He's like, "Yes." Like, all right, you know what? And then you hear someone saying, "You can get the merchandise inside. Also, you can get it upstairs." So I was thinking, oh, line's kind of crazy over here. Might as well just go in and just get something. Let's get a T-shirt or something. All right. I go upstairs, and I finally get to my level. And as I'm walking around, I see the line, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, this line is not that bad. All right, maybe I'll get on. Nothing's going on. Nobody's performing yet. When I get to the spot, I thought was the end of the line. There was like a whole other space where the line begins again. At the end of the line, it's about halfway around the level where I'm supposed to be sitting at. So I walk, and I asked the guys like, hey, how long have you been here for? He's like, I've been here for about 45 minutes. And I was like, how far have you moved? The guy said to me, it's been about half an hour only moved. I feel like I moved only about 10 feet. And I got online from him. I was like, all right, you know what? The act starts at 9. I believe he gets there at 9:45 from, my research that I was doing what time the act starts. And I was like, all right, you know what? Maybe I'll. Then I said to myself, you know what? The opening act is about to open soon. I want to see everyone perform, and I'll go after the concert, and then get something. Now, just so you know, just in case if anybody listens, at his website, traviscott.com, he does have like an exclusive merchandise for each city that he goes to within 24 hours of the concert they performed in, where you can purchase it. Saves a lot of hassle, but there's a lot more variety at the concert. Just concert name is Circus Maximus, by the way. This is basically off of his Utopia album. So yeah, that's the start. Starting with the merchandise, long, long, long ass lines. Just so anybody who listens just gets to find out. Long ass lines. When I got to my seat, there were a couple of guys that the seats were empty, and I was thinking, oh, maybe the space, like, I'm gonna have a little space, for myself, and I could put my arms in the seats, whatever. Then finally, the group that was sitting next to me, they got there and they said, hey, I was like, hey, did I miss anything? And I go, no, just Tizo Touchdown just performed. They got there like about 15 minutes like after he performed. There was still time because they probably thought. And I said, oh, you got merchandise? He's like, yeah. And I said to him, I asked him, I said, how long did it take you to get your merchandise? He's like, it said 2 hours. And I was like, my goodness. And I was like, I got online, and after 10 minutes, I just said, forget it, because I already knew. I just saw the line was not moving at all. And again, the booths were small, maybe about 2 individuals per booth in the inside the garden. And that was it. I'll say one thing about Travis, he has fans, and he sells a ton of merchandise. The guy is doing very well with the merchandise. I think he broke some record, and I think it was in either Denver or Dallas. There was something where there was over $1 million worth of merchandise sales. If you go to, like, whatever it is, the circus, all those things. We're not counting the food. We're talking about just the merchandise of the actual brand, the performers. When you sell $1 million worth of merchandise, and this is about, I mean, I'm not going to run numbers right now. Let's say the garden packs about 17,000, 19,000. 19,000, we're talking about seats. Of course, there was, yeah, the stage, which takes up some of the seating away capacity. So let's say 17,000, whatever. That's 17,000 people, and you're making $1 million in merchandise. That means that people are spending at least over 100 something a piece, maybe two. You have to think about it that way. I think it's kind of insane, or whatever it is. But yeah, he's doing very well. Top of that, he has that Nike deal with Jordan. Of course, we all know that his sneakers resell for over 1,000 many times. Some of the other sneakers, like the Jordan lows, sell for that. So just going and covering a couple little things about Travis Scott that I think is interesting. And it was something I wanted to incorporate to this podcast today, just to have something to talk about. And again, based on my concert experience. I'll go back and explain who I've seen in concert this year. This year was a crazy year in concerts for me. I haven't done many concerts in the last couple of years. I think I did one maybe in the last, I would say, 3, 4 years. I would say about, and that was J Balvin, I think, in City Field, which was it was the Governor's Ball, and some other acts were there, and I think it was ASAP Rocky was there too, and but that was like really packed because I went to see J Balvin instead. Uh, After that, this year, last year I don't didn't do anything. This year I went crazy. I saw Black Thought with El Michael's Affair in Brooklyn. I'm in the New York area. Uh, then after that, I saw Kendrick Lamar, Pusha T, Drake, and then Travis. It's so difficult to rate which one was the one I enjoyed the most because they were all so different, different types of styles. Kendrick and Black Thought are real lyricists. If you want to see performers who can really, who are just lyrically skilled, you see them just for that. Don't get me wrong, Kendrick had an amazing show. That was a great, great show. Opening was amazing. They all had great openings. It's just tough to explain how energetic the crowd was on Thursday. December 21st was the day that Travis Scott went to the Garden, by the way. When I say the crowd was energetic, super energetic. Before that, I think I saw something on TV where he was a guest on Jimmy Fallon. And they talked about a couple little things and how he sang one song, which is Fiend, 10 times at Barclays. Apparently, there was a record that Kanye and Jay-Z have a record of 12 uh, for their Paris song. So he didn't break a record. And then, of course, Jimmy Fallon says, hey, why don't you just sing the whole concert? Just do the same song for the whole concert. Maybe do it 30 times instead. And he goes, well, I'm going to try and see, I'm going to go crazy tonight at the Garden as well. Overall, he opened the concert with Hyena, which is a very fast song as far as, lyrically, actually, in the Utopia album, which I did enjoy, which was really good, actually. Production-wise, it was up there. It was top-notch. A lot of Kanye influence in it. There was Ye produced tracks as well. And yeah, so he opened up with Hyena very fast. And then I'm gonna go over the list of his set list of what he actually performed. They're mostly the same, except I read there was a couple small differences on performance wise. Let me give you some ideas. Some of them. So basically, it was almost as if he was going in order from the Utopia album because the way I look at it, I don't have the exact album track listing, but the way he opened it was Hyena, and when he opened up with Hyena, the crowd was super amped. They were just from the bottom where you have the mosh pit to my seats to beyond above my seats. Uh, he came out, launched from the inside like through a spring, and of course he came out and landed on stage, and of course the crowd was, like I said, they went crazy. Best opening, or let's say best way to open a concert, hands down. Kendrick was very close, except for the uh, the cover fell on him, or actually got in front of him instead of behind him. The cover that falls down, and that was electric too, as far as the opening for him. And I love Kendrick because he's my favorite, but performance wise, Travis controls the crowd. Really controls the crowd. I didn't think that. When you watch on TV, it's one thing. When you go there live, it's a whole different experience. That's with many things. One thing you could tell is that his fans are very loyal fans. Not saying that all the other artists are not, because all fans are loyal to their artists. We pay to see them perform for a reason. We enjoy their music, right? There was just a level of energy that I haven't seen and I haven't experienced in a concert in a long time to that level. I wasn't even tired. And I usually get a little tired no matter. I was still even going after the concert. Even the day after when I went to work, I was still energetic. I just felt like, wow, if I get tired, I feel like I'll disappoint someone, or hey, I shouldn't be tired. After what I saw last night, goodness, I should feel actually more energy than even when I went before the concert with the anticipation of it. So, second song he followed up was "Thank God," which I really enjoy. I love that song. That's the one where he has a clip of his daughter's voice for a quick second. Again, like I said, the album has great production. If you haven't heard it, give it a listen. If you're not a fan of hip hop, give it a shot. There's a couple of albums I'll say that are really worth listening from the last couple of years, depending on what you like and what you're looking for. Uh, then I believe I can't remember the rest of it. Actually, Monster Jam. He did Nightcrawler, Sirens, Praise God. I'm gonna touch upon that one for a quick moment. Praise God is from the Ye album where Travis featured on it. Now, I believe it was before Utopia was released, he had a concert in Milan. And the one thing you hear is about the earthquake, or there was like a seismic measure that was felt that measured as an earthquake in Milan because of the fans jumping. Now, the funny thing is that they were actually outdoors. They were not in an arena. Not that I remember. It was an outdoor atmosphere. It was definitely outdoors because there was no roof or nothing. But yeah, that's I'll get to that in a moment. So he mentioned saying, "Hey, it's been great. There's nothing better than spending Christmas week, and I'd rather spend it with my daughters and of course my fans." Gave a little speech before the song, and then he basically went into, when you hear the track, you already know it's Praise God because of the intro to the song. Now, of course, usually, I like to do my research. I can know what's gonna be, what's performing and so on and so forth. So I already knew that that was not a surprise track. That was not that Kanye was not gonna just show up out of the blue. I mean, that would have been. I don't know what else would have happened at that point if he would have showed up. He didn't show up, but you hear the fans saying, "Yay, yay." No, he wishful thinking. Yes, that would have been amazing. But no, so you hear the Kanye cover for a moment, and then of course Travis goes into it. The crowd still went crazy to that song. There were so many songs that the crowd, where I was at one moment, I'm thinking, I know they renovated the garden. I feel even the rafter like shaking. I'm not even sure if at one point during the concert, if power went out or something blew because there was a pause and you don't hear the DJ say anything. There was like a pause and that was it. Like everything went black. Not the arena, but the stage was like dark for a moment. And I don't know. And then I think I heard, Travis come back and say, "Wow, you guys are that crazy. I think we shook something and just like, shut something down." Not sure if that was just to buy time or for a change or whatever it was, but either way. I even said to the guy next to me, "Hey, you know what? Usually there's something that, if there's a song coming up, there's like, oh, you know what, we're gonna, whatever." And there was nothing said. That's just my hunch at that moment. Anyway, so yeah, so praise God. So that was that. Then, My Eyes, which is another amazing song. Slow. So now at this point, it's slowing down a little bit. Then we start picking up again because we start going into Butterfly Effect, which is the classics with Travis. Hit us with 90210, which is a great song. Unfortunately, he didn't do the second half because that's to me that the better part of the song when it's actually when he speeds up because then you hear the lyricism in there. And then came Fiend. And when Fiend came on, you already knew it was over. Not the concert, just like the end of the garden at that point. I don't know if there was a way that anybody can measure something. At one point, I thought to myself, I was like, wow, you know what? If this breaks today, then tonight's the night because I felt it. I felt like the section I was in was fully shaking. The whole place was jumping up and down. When I say the whole place was jumping up and down. I think I took a video of it. By the way, Instagram. You can go to my Instagram, which is EDAPT LLC. Little plug there for the page. So it's Adapt with an EDAPT LLC. I put videos up of the concert, of my experience. Just for anybody to see who hasn't gone or just to kind of enjoy it at least, I like to do those types of things. I always like to record what I do and my experience, especially for concerts. You pay, you should always be able to have that as a memory and put it out there for, others to see who don't get a chance to see it, which, you know, is sometimes frowned upon for copyright reasons. But honestly, it's just for everybody to see. And so, yeah, you can check that out. I'm going to do another plug actually while we're at it. Nah, maybe I'll do it later on. I'll talk about that later on. So anyway, Fiend comes on. Place is shaking. Place is shaking. I feel it. I'm trying to think of an event where I felt like, wow, this is really moving. And I'm thinking to myself, I hope this place actually can hold this type of energy. Well, I'm here at the show saying it. It sure did. So thank you to Madison Square Garden for being able to hold up all that weight, all that force, all that momentum. And if one day Travis gets a chance to hear this and he hears a podcast and he hears my little podcast, the Not So Creative podcast, let me make sure I say it right. Not So Creative podcast. You have crowd control through your music and through you, which is incredible. I'll give you props. I'll give you the props all the way to the end. Whole new respect. Not that I didn't respect you. It's not what I'm trying to say. It was just, I didn't expect it. Drake, like I said, it's difficult to compare because it's different styles, different types. I'm actually holding Travis Scott now to that standard of, if anybody wants to go to have a really fun experience at a concert, just go and don't be afraid. Just go. Just go and do it. Maybe do cardio, do some training. That way you don't get tired. I actually kind of was like, in a way doing that so I don't get tired. And the good thing is, it worked. I didn't get tired. So if you want to have that energy, do that. It's worth it. You're gonna come out like, wow, you know what? That was amazing. That was an incredible concert. I'm still feeling it at this moment of how good it is. I actually watched the videos and I'm like, man, that crowd was crazy. Is it like that in every arena? And of course, almost like when you watch let's say if you watch wrestling sometimes, the wrestlers or depending on whether he's a villain, whether he's a good guy, they always cater to the city. Usually the good guys say, hey, this happens, this is the greatest city in the world. It's, New York City, or let's say it's Los Angeles or whatever. I know that Madison Square Garden did bring it that night. The fans definitely did bring it. The Garden, as always, good. And, most arenas, Barclays Center is actually really good. I prefer Barclays because I feel like the tickets are a little less versus the Garden. And I like the exit strategy of Barclays versus the Garden. If you ever go to a concert and they're playing in both places, go to Barclays. Go to Barclays. It's a straight walk in. You walk right out. Of course, any arena is gonna have its thing, but the Garden is there. It's just there. They renovated it, but to leave, it takes forever. It took forever. But anyway, back to the concert. I believe he performed Fiend about like 14, 15 times. And every single time, the crowd didn't even stop. They kept on going. It actually was making them stronger as it went because the crowd already knew of what had happened at Barclays. So, the crowd in the Garden was basically thinking, we're going to be so crazy and so energetic and show so much love that he's going to want to do this more than the 10 times. We're actually going to even go past 12 because, again, Jay-Z and Ye, when they had the Watch the Throne album for the Paris song, I'm not going to give the full title. We all know what the title is. They did it 12 times, I believe. It was at Barclays. I'm sorry, I just went over my words. Tongue twister. 13. It was either 14 or 15 times. And nobody, again, Nobody, not anybody in that arena let up. Nobody tapped out. The guy in front of me with his girlfriend, him, every single time that Fiend came on, it was like a reset. It was like, oh, we didn't go harder this time. We're gonna just make as much noise as we can. And when you're an artist and you see that, you want to stay and perform. Of course, there's always a time limit, a slot of time that you're performing for. He did it 13 or 15 times. I think he stayed a little longer than he was supposed to. Maybe. He came out at 9:45. It was about like a 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours. Concert was almost over the next day, technically. Almost at 12 a.m. And eventually, when the end of Fiend finally came true, slight pause because I'm looking at the set list real quick. I'm sorry. By the way, he didn't do it 15 or 14. I believe it was 15. It's either 14 or 15. I know that much. He didn't do it all straight. He broke it up. He had a teaser. Then he had basically like the full version. Unfortunately, Playboy Cardi wasn't there to perform it. He had Sheck West as a surprise, and he had some other surprise guests too that came later. But Sheck West did perform it for the one time. And then the other 14 times, he did it. So in between, after that, Sicko Mode, again, super, super popular song. I love that song too. That's one with Drake. And Goosebumps, another. And he has hits. Utopia only made it even better because it added depth to his catalog now. Now he has a little depth with his catalog, and Utopia is actually, in my opinion, a really good album. Top 10 of the year. Again, we have to count, this year. Then he ends with Telekinesis, which is a song with that features Future. And then he at the end, as that song is performing, it's the last song because he starts to walk out, and you see on the video on the jumbotron that he's walking through the garden hallway as you see the pictures of the athletes, all the famous ones, and so on and so forth. I know I didn't mention this part. It was funny because I remember, I watch YouTube sometimes, and I'll watch a couple of videos and so on and so forth. And I remember one person saying, it's a very young crowd, understandable. Definitely get it. Explains the whole energy thing because they definitely have a lot of energy. And at one point, I even thought to myself, first of all, I know I was not going to get tired because I felt like I did go to training to do this because I know I expected something different. And the reason I say that is because on a hot day at Governor's Ball this year, when I saw Pusha T and Kendrick, I was dehydrated. It was hot outside. And no matter how many times or how many Pedialytes I had, it just wasn't enough because it was just, the extremely hot. Eventually calmed down. Even though it was indoors and again it's cooler, doesn't mean that you don't hydrate. And again, I'm in much better shape now because of course what I did. I know it's kind of crazy saying that I had to do a workout to go to a Travis concert, but I felt that. Now I don't know if I would have been able to hang in the mosh pit. Mosh pit's never been my thing anyway. Uh Last episode, the one that I had with my special guest Rob, he loves that stuff. He can slam dance. He can do that whole mosh thing. He can do pushing and all the other crazy things that I was not into. And by the way, if you ever saw this person, you would think that's the last person that you would see in a mosh pit. Nicest guy in the world, but goodness, don't put him in a mosh pit. The guy transforms to something else. And he's not a small guy. He's a really strong guy actually. So yeah. Oh, the one thing I wanted to talk about. Of course, so I was thinking, I was like, oh, maybe I'm in that older bracket. I'm not a teenager. I'm not my 20s. I'm not my 30s. I'm not gonna give my age away, but it doesn't matter. Either way, I felt great. I thought I could do many in the arena, except for the ones in the mosh pit because that requires a little excessive jumping and a lot more power involved, as I know from what I was seeing and I've seen before. And I've been caught in a mosh pit before. And it's very different when you have, you could be as strong as whoever. But when you have 5, 10 people pushing around, that's a lot of weight. And sometimes the body can either handle it, you either may fall or cramp up, whatever the case is. All experiences are different, or you can just fall and just get hurt, so on and so forth. Anyway, going back, when Travis put his Ragers, his fans, on a parasail, and he would say, hey, I want 2 Ragers to come on stage, and he would pick him. He would take his time and pick, certain audience members. It was cool that he actually picked a younger kid, probably like about, I would say, from looking at the jumbotron, was maybe 8th grade, 7th grade, and it was cool because they put a clasp on and you hang on that way, of course, because it goes up in the air and it moves across the stage. So you would pick 2. I think he did it maybe 4 times, which again is awesome because that's crowd participation. And it was probably much better that way than having fans go on stage while you perform, because fans sometimes might not be able to control themselves and they might distract in the middle of a song as he's performing. So they do this whole parasail thing, because I've seen videos where fans just got on stage or they got on and they're, Either way, he did release a sneaker, I think it was last week as well, which was the Mac Attacks, which is a retro Nike model which is the original of John McEnroe, who's a tennis player. Well, former tennis player, retired. I call him one of the original, an OG of being like the villain type of athlete. We always we see Draymond Green and so on and so forth. Before Draymond Green, before, let's say, Bill Laimbeer, I'm naming bad boys. I can't remember every single one. Dennis Rodman. Now this is basketball, of course. We're talking about tennis. This guy would argue with the umpires, constantly argue. If you've seen him in movies, I can't remember which movie it was, but there was a movie with Adam Sandler where, again, the whole niche is that he's an angry guy and he's always frustrated and so on and so forth. And he'll say it because he has no filter, and he'll say what he feels at that moment. So they did this whole little. There was a video that came out, because Travis was doing, it was like a triple collaboration. It was Nike, John McEnroe, Travis Scott, and of course they were doing the Cactus Jack version, Travis Scott versions of the Mac Attacks. And in the video, there was like it shows like a leaked video or a phone call on either a Zoom meeting and so on and so forth, and you hear John McEnroe saying, "Hey, respect my sneaker. Put a little respect on it. That's my sneaker. It's not your sneaker." The whole exchange was about how John McEnroe wanted, instead of having Cactus Jack embroidered on the heel part of the sneaker, he wanted to be Cactus Mac, which he thought would be sounding better. Travis Scott, knowing how his fans are, and you know what a lot of the youth looks into and looks for, he said, "I don't know if that's a good idea. I think it's better off just being Cactus Jack. I don't think Cactus Mac is really going to be anything." He said, "Hey, that sounds like a burger to me. I don't know." Because my Ragers, they're pushing. They're the ones pushing the envelope here when it comes to purchasing. What they think is cool, what's not cool, and I don't think that sounds cool. And then you hear, you know, again, John McEnroe kind of blows up, and then he says, "I want to show you a picture. Let me show you a picture." And then I think Travis is going, "No, don't show it. Just please don't do that. Not again." And then I guess he goes away, and yeah. So he goes to Jimmy. He goes to Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon has a pair of the sneakers, and he referred to the whole thing about, "Oh, hey, it's a good thing you got my version, because Johnny Mac has been doing, crossing things out, wearing his version of it." Obviously, it was all marketing ploy. Many thought that it was a real exchange, that it was really a heated thing, and so on and so forth. I guess they didn't know who Johnny McEnroe is. Oh, I'm calling him Johnny, but John McEnroe. That's his thing. That's his thing. So I thought it was actually brilliant that they did it that way. Because, if you do it that way, you're going to have something to talk about. Because not many, not the younger people, and nobody who really watches tennis knows who John McEnroe is. I know who he is. Obviously, Travis knows who he is, because he knows that was part of the whole gimmick idea of doing it. And it worked. Hey, either way, the sneaker still sold out in minutes, as they said. Funny, and he mentioned that if he sees in the show and Jimmy Fallon, you guys watch it, you could probably watch it on YouTube, or I think it's Peacock, the streaming service. He says he's gonna go, he's gonna get him or whatever. So going back to this, and he's at the concert. Now, when I see, and this is how, sorry, those stories are a little long, but I just think just making a little practice of this whole podcast, make it try to sound interesting at least. And so he, when you see the rages at the parasail, you see one person. Now, again, I'm in the section 200s in Madison Square Garden. So I see a person with, I believe was a cap, all white hair. And I'm thinking, wow, there was a girl with him. Of course, I can't, I didn't really clearly see and know who it was until I arrived at home at night. And I saw on Instagram who it was. So when I first saw it, I said, that's pretty cool. Travis is picking all types of ages. He picked a young kid. He picked a kid like a teenager. He picked a kid who was like in 7th grade. He picked 2 women. He picked a girl, and I think he picked her dad or her grandfather. So as I'm seeing this person jump up and down, I was like, wow, even that guy got energy too. I was like, this is amazing. He's in the parasail, and the parasail's moving. Of course, they're all, they're clipped on, safety harness. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. That guy's probably the coolest. As I'm watching on the Jumbotron, I'm thinking, That's the coolest guy right there in the building right now. Even though before there was a cool mom who brought her young son with her, and she got him really good seats. Because I remember when you go up and you go into the building, in the garden, you go up to your level. Again, the garden has escalators to go up because it's above ground basically building, so it's going up high. So she's taking this, the son, and I'm like, wow, that's a cool mom. Like, that's a pretty cool ticket. That's an awesome. If that's a Christmas gift for the year, that's an awesome one. And if that's not the Christmas gift of the year yet, then wow, awesome, coolest mom. Kind of reminded me of my mom because I remember when she used to take me back in the day to the wrestling shows, she'd be the only one. She would work her ass off. She would do everything she could. One job, put extra hours, and she would get tickets to take me to the show. So when I saw that, I was like, wow, that reminded me of my mom taking me to that. She didn't take me to no hip hop concerts. Well, again, I wasn't really into the concerts. I got into like once I was like 18 and so on and so forth. I don't really do that. I was usually more into like the whole sporting stuff, like wrestling and other things. That was my thing at that time, back then. So either way. So as I'm looking at this, I'm like, wow, that's the coolest. That's the coolest guy right there. He's jumping up and down, cool, until later that night after I'm home. I see the note that said, and some of these Instagram posts sometimes you could just tell that, hey, the stuff you put up sometimes, it's either that it was actually a legit situation between the so-called argument that was from John McEnroe and Travis Scott over the name of the sneaker, or it's just a marketing, way of them advertising their sneaker because, again, it's Johnny McEnroe. First thing you see on the Instagram says, John McEnroe and Travis Scott made up. The beef is over. But there was no beef. There never was a beef. Either way, that shows you how good the marketing was when it comes to that. It was all fun. It did look serious. But I knew the whole time about John and how he acts and how he seems like he's always frustrated and angry and upset. And Travis is the cool one, the laid back one, saying, I don't know about this. I don't think that's a good idea. That was the approach. Again, you made John McEnroe the bad guy because he was the OG. He's the original bad guy. So, again, not many people knew about that. So I thought that was what it was. Anyway, very fun concert. I want to give a shout out to whoever took their kids. There were tourists as well, people from out of town. It brought in, concerts this year, I will say all throughout, have brought in a lot of money. A lot. The economy did get a boost. I know Taylor Swift got, well, let me correct that. Taylor Swift is given a lot of the credit. I'm sorry, just isn't her. There were so many musical acts that went on tour this year from music festivals. We're talking about 2020, 21, concerts started again, but there was still some states had the whole face mask and proving that you have COVID and so on and so forth. 22 was basically a rebound year. 23 was the year that everyone went on tour. Albums came out, new albums came out, projects were perfected, that the artists were happy with their projects and they went on tour. So let's think about this. I'm not going to name every single one of them, because my friend went to one of them too, to a concert. He invited me to it. Unfortunately, I was working. I couldn't make it due to scheduling. I'm going to start with Taylor Swift. I'll give her props. Sold out shows. Apparently, economy and cities are making money. Of course, she's a top performer. I'll give her that. Beyonce. Can't forget about her either. So you're talking about as if like in boxing you have two heavyweights. You had the heavyweights right there, but no, we're not even finished yet. I forgot. I just talked about them before, and I'm just talking about music and concerts and so on and so forth. Now I'm just not trying to switch it up, but just still staying in the same lane with this one for today. There was a storm that was really bad in the DC area. I think there was flooding. Transportation system was about to be closed down. Apparently, Beyonce paid, I believe it was about $250,000 to keep it open, or either they're $500,000. I'm not sure about the facts, but that's what I had heard. To basically help anybody who came from outside of the area to go to the concert, keep the transportation systems open. They kept it open. Someone paid enough money to make it work. They worked around the issues. Yeah, there was a delay with it, and the concert kept on going. That would have sucked because, again, you think about it. Any concert that gets canceled, it's unfortunate. Whether it's delays or artist changes his mind, who knows? You just never know. But when you have an external event like a storm, and it's proven that there's issues with it, to have her put out, again, it's probably like nothing to her, but either way, to think of her fans, and of course, either way, she's also losing too. If we might as well just do it right there and then not have to go back, right? It was pulled off, so she did it. So again, we have Taylor Swift, you have Beyonce, two heavyweights bringing tons of money to different cities. We're talking about hospitality, hotels, restaurants, stores, everything. Because some of us want to look really good in concerts, and sometimes when we go to different concerts, depending on. Believe me, you want to go to a Travis concert, you go looking comfortable. You're going to be jumping up and down. You go to Beyonce concert, you're going to want to look really good. You go to Taylor Swift concert, you want to look nice. You go to Drake concert. I was the other one too. Forgot about Drake. He went on tour, don't forget, with 21 Savage. Right? He made a ton. He didn't do stadium tours, but he did like 7 shows in New York City. I think it was like 4 at Barclays, 3 at the Garden. It was some crazy number, and every show sold out. Again, a lot of people came from the suburbs. I'm in the suburbs. And yeah. So that's why I say I don't give full credit to, it was somewhere, I can't remember where it was in the news or something. Hey, Taylor Swift boosted the economy. No, it wasn't her. It was a combination of everyone, of the big acts. Taylor Swift in the pop, Beyonce pop, R&B, stadium tours, selling out, both of them selling out shows without any issue. Drake selling arena shows. My friend went to a Guns N' Roses concert. I think it was in MetLife, New Jersey. Don't know what the crowd was. It looked packed because he was sitting up high. Still, either way, money's being made. And of course, he ended strong with Travis Scott to end the year. And also beginning the year again, he has a second leg of the tour. He had 2 shows at Barclays, 1 in Madison Square Garden, which is the one I attended. Amazing. I said it this way. I think I'm gonna retire from going to concerts for a while. I think I've seen everyone that I want to see. This year was probably like the banner year of concerts, of me seeing the only one that I will say that I wish I would have gone to, that I probably forgot, I won't say forgot, that I just didn't, I want to take someone to it, to experience it with someone special. It was Carol G, the Colombian artist. By the way, my family's from Colombia, so shout out to Carol G. I forget, not gonna shout out, not gonna miss out on J Balvin, Maluma, Blessed, Manuel Torizo. I almost said chorizo. I'm so sorry. Manuel Turizo. I believe I said it right. Please you know, don't diss me for saying it incorrectly. I'm gringo, so sorry about that. A whole bunch of Colombian artists. Oh, Maluma. It's a lot. Shout out to all of them. Maluma was also on tour too. The only one that didn't go on tour was J Balvin. He was going on tour and he canceled his tour. Next year he's doing his tour. So not sure if it was blamed on COVID, whatever the case was. And it was completely canceled. I thought it was strange, but it is what it is. I would usually say it's either COVID or just tickets weren't selling. Because at a certain point, when you have so many acts coming in and going on tour, if we don't have it to spend, we're gonna have to be selective of which ones we want to see. I was very fortunate. Kendrick Lamar was only about 10 minutes away from me, so I had to go. Drake, I was lucky. Don't forget. Oh, that's all I was gonna say. Just reminded myself of this. I have an eBay page. I'm gonna do my own sponsor. At some point, hopefully, I get sponsors where I can, do sponsorship announcements on the podcast, the Not So Creative podcast. So eBay, my seller name is Hi. Check it out, HI exclamation point. Again, I have to hustle. I have to hustle hard. I have to keep on going. There's no stopping, and I have to keep on doing it. So go to eBay page, HI, exclamation point, as if you're saying hi. Just think of that. That's my seller name. The reason I'm bringing that up now, and it was actually perfect timing, well, I kind of reminded myself of it. I went to 2 Drake concerts. Got floor seats, or at least 100 level seating for $100 difference between the Garden, which was at a 200 level seating halfway up the arena, versus section, I think it was 28 for Barclays, which got amazing video on that. I have a YouTube channel as well. I'll announce it later, another time, because I want to see where I'm going to go with it. Directions might change with this podcast, so I'm not doing anything crazy or making any announcements on that yet, because things might change on that depending how things go. So I went to 2 concerts. He came out with a poetry book. I was lucky enough to order it, and I sold them. They were $25, and I was keeping track of them because I was telling my buddy about it. I was like, hey, you know what? I might as well buy 2 or 3 of these books, because if I buy, sometimes I'll buy sneakers here and there. I don't buy massive amounts because, again, I'm blue collar. I work and it's not easy. I have 2 daughters who live with their mom. So, of course, I'm not going to go into that. Anyway, with that, I buy these books, and I tell my friend about it. I was like, you know what? I know how you do. Me and you are similar in that aspect with them talking about Rob. You buy, we invest, we sell. You buy cards, I buy books, sneakers, whatever. I'll see what I could do with it. If I can't, then I'll just let it go and whatever. I'll take the loss. The loss is a loss. Can't always win, right? All right. Well, that Drake poetry book was winning, because The only reason I went to the second concert, I was looking to sell my ticket. I wasn't reselling, I was selling my ticket, and someone was offering me way below the amount. And I said to myself, and I told Rob, I said, "Hey, you know what?" I was like, "Do you think I should go? Do you want my ticket?" He doesn't listen to Drake, so he didn't want to go. And I said, "Well, I can just go with it, just buy the books. I already sold three of them for three times the price. In a way, I basically pay for my ticket. That'll work." And I sold one more book. And then I said to myself, shit, you know what? I have to go. I have to go to the show now. I don't have any more books. I hope they have them over there. And there's moments, when you fall for the whole, not you don't fall for it, but that energy. Oh, I'm going to get the t-shirt, the tour shirt. I should have just bought a whole bunch of books and just forgotten the t-shirt. I was a little low on funds, so I could only do like $2 and a shirt. That was the only thing I would say I would take back, because there was not $1 I lost on those books. So, Drake, thank you for that book. I read it in Barclays because I had my own copy, which my own copy was a misprint. There were pages that were upside down, and there were two pages that had a rip on them. And it wasn't like a dog, bit my book rip. It was like a perfect rip. It was like machine generated in some way. I'm holding on to that. Maybe I'll sell it. I should sell it because I already read it, and it was the quickest read ever. Book was amazing. The book is amazing. Amazing because I was able to make 3 times the amount of money on that book. Books don't sell for more. It has to be super limited. And that was. I don't even know if they released it again. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, that was it with that. So going back, the city made money. The arena made money. The workers are fine. So overall, I appreciate anybody who listens to the podcast. I'm sorry it was a little long. It was about the experience. And to close it out, Travis, amazing concert. I really was thinking about not going at one point. Not because I was afraid. Just there were some circumstances that were going on that I said, oh goodness, maybe it's not meant to be. But I think that gave me more motivation, more energy. I came out inspired out of there. I was definitely motivated because I was like, wow, I still feel good. I can't believe it. Sometimes you stand for hours, whether you're young, old, your back, whatever your issues are, you have back problems, whatever. Back goes a little tight. Once I started moving, because again, you're in the same spot, because when you're sitting in the same spot, that's where the floor and the mosh pit may be a little advantage. You can move around at least. But I was fine. Woke up the next day, was not even sore. So, amazing concert. If you haven't gone, definitely go. Second leg of the tour, and I'm not even advertising. I don't even know Travis Scott. It's worth it. Crowd is fun. Just go there, enjoy yourselves. We're all in there for the same thing, which is to be entertained and, love the music that we listen to. And, I felt the place shake. So when he wrote on Instagram, hey, we shake, the shaking went straight to the moon. I thought it was, because at one point I thought the arena was about to break in half. And I thought that the area where I was on was about to just crumble, and I was about to fall through different levels to who knows where. Glad that it didn't happen. But yeah, awesome concert. Check out my Instagram if you haven't seen it. You can check. Again, like I said, EDAPT, which is, you can say EDAPT, or I say adapt because it sounds like adapt, but it's with an E. So EDAPT LLC. That's kind of like my reseller page, so on and so forth. That also might change at some point. But yeah, it was fun. And I'm officially, for now, retiring from concerts. I already made the announcement. I already said it to a couple of people. And the most important one I told, and I said, I'm not going to go to the concert unless you're coming with me, because that's it. By the way, all these concerts I did Party of One. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I ask friends, either they can make it, either they work, they're busy doing something else. It's not going to stop it from me, because I'm going to go after what I want and what I enjoy. I just did them all this year. Again, Black Thought, Pusha T, Kendrick. I saw Giveon. I saw Central C. I'm going to name them all right now. Drake, 21 Savage, Little Yachty, Black Thought. I think I've said them before. Travis Scott, Tizo Touchdown. That's a lot. That's a lot of acts I saw. I have no reason to complain. I have no reason to say, hey, you know what? I still want to go see a lot more. I'm done. I'm good. I saw everybody. Those are basically my. Oh, I'm sorry, Kendrick. Did I say Kendrick? I know I said it before, but I'm trying to say the whole list right now. Amazing. I mean, you have to, grateful. Thank you. I enjoyed every single one of them, all different. Every single one of them. I appreciate it. I really do. There was not one concert that I would say where the crowd was like this. Not one. Not one. It was more like, hear the DJ in the radio or the DJ amping it up. It was like this. Yep. Exactly like that. Well, after the Travis concert, it was this, but to like the 100th level, even outside, even before the show. If you're seeing a merchandise line that's lasting 2 hours before the show starts, you have very loyal fans, and and be so grateful of them too. And he loves his fans. A little crazy sometimes, but he loves his fans. And he put a very good show on. Great performance. DJ too. DJ helps a lot. I always say with hip hop, and I'm gonna try to not trying to go too long. It's just nice and quiet right now. There's no noise, so I gotta take advantage of this. Hip hop, sometimes you need backup dancers, and other times you can just control the crowd. Drake had props, which enhanced the experience. He had inflatable props from spaceships, or you can, whatever, flying saucers, to inflatable women, to a prop with the villain from that movie Scream. Also, 21 Savage had similar props because that was part of the whole it's all a blur tour. Kendrick had more of an artistic feel, but his contour is really good though. must see him. I just can't pick a favorite because the crowd was also very amped for him too. Guy has a lot of hits, and lyrically, when he performed, it was, you would have thought, the way it came out of there, you would have thought that this guy was just performing to be recognized when he's basically the top, to me, the number one lyrically, all throughout. I mean, you just don't win a Pulitzer Prize just making bad music, right? So, levels above everyone else. Travis Scott production wise, amazing. The influence is there. We already know who the influence is. We already know who his main influences are. Kanye, and then you have I think the sound engineer Mike Dean. You get Mike Dean on your album, your album's gonna sound incredible. Just that's a fact. But at the same time, either way, amazing concert, very fun. You don't need backup dancers when it came to Travis Scott. Another one who very few can control crowd the way he did. As far as when I say control crowd, is keep him interested with not many, things to distract. You had the DJ and Travis Scott, large stage. Loved the look of the stage, actually. It was different. And of course, the crowd participation, the fan, in doing the parasail, whether you put a safety harness and they dance and jump on this moving, I think it was like a moving skull or something. So, at the end of the day, I appreciate everyone listening again. I'm sorry I went a little long. And pass the word on the channel. Greatly appreciate it. Check out my Instagram when I'm active on it. Have like little clips of the experience there. And my eBay page. Please pass the word on. I'm just, like I said, gotta keep on going. This is just adding on to it. And hope you guys enjoy it. And thank you again for listening to the Not So Creative podcast. As you can see, it's not so creative. I'm still getting used to it. I hope the actual show records, because I did that one time where I did a whole set. And then when I try to upload it, it didn't exist. So I'm hoping that it actually exists. Thank you for listening. Hope you guys have a great holiday, New Year. These podcasts may upload by next year, but at least you know the time frame of when it started, and I'll know the time frame, and I appreciate it. And I hope to have someone like a sidekick at some point. I already have someone in mind because Rob, when I brought him to do a tryout to let's see what we can do, he did a ha-ha, he, and exactly that silence was gold. So I already knew that either has to warm up or he just may not do it. But he will be doing other things. I hope, because he is skilled. Thank you again. I'll see you guys.